terrorist leaders have been killed, some half of the CIA's most wanted. Are there any rules governing this? Is the CIA accountable?
Well, first let me just say that what we know about this, what we know about the activities in the war zone of Afghanistan performed by the military, and what we know or think we know about CIA's activities or other government agencies' activities outside of Afghanistan, in Pakistan and elsewhere, are based on news accounts, and we don't know for sure whether that's in fact occurring. I don't know whether that's occurring, and I just want to make that as a disclaimer, but we can work off of what the press accounts have put forth to have a discussion.
So is this happening sort of in the dark, and is anybody accountable to this? What are the rules?
Well, the rules at the Central Intelligence Agency is United States law. And any other directives from the President of the United States. And
which is, in this case?
In this case, one could look to the assassination ban in the executive order. One could look to the laws passed by Congress barring certain types of killings overseas.
So are you saying, as General Counsel, that this is potentially illegal?
No, I'm not saying that, because in the sense of the assassination ban, that's a presidential order, and any president is free at any time to ignore, waive, or secretly waive an order such as that. It's not a law. In terms of the laws passed by Congress, I don't think any of them would apply here. So I don't think there is any legal bar under United States law to prevent this from happening.
Is there any concern, any ethical concern that you have?
Oh, quite yes. The ethical concerns have to do with the fact that the United States is abandoning the law enforcement model, which was much ridiculed as having been the only model before 9/11, and is taking on the war model. But in taking on the war model, you have to follow the rule, the ethical and moral just war ethics of war. You can't blend them. You can't jump back and forth from one from the other. If you're going to go outside the war zone and target people, that is not war. And you need to follow other rules. The rules would be, in my opinion, the rule of law, and you need to pursue those people and bring them to justice.
Well, let me go to General Talat Massoud in Islamabad, where a lot of these drone strikes are happening. Is this having a good or a bad effect in Pakistan?
Well, I think there is both a plus and a minus to this, in the sense that there is a moral dimension to it, and also it is arousing a lot of political opposition to it, in the sense that it is also whipping up a lot of anti-Americanism, and people think that it's a violation of Pakistan's sovereignty. And at the same time, there is also a belief that if the United States is an ally, then how is it that it is targeting in our country? On the other hand, it has undoubtedly some very good tactical advantage, in the sense that it has put the Taliban and the Al-Qaeda on the defensive. And there have been some very good targets taken out by the predators, and the one is the most prominent was Baitullah Masood. And I think on balance one can say that it has tactical advantages, but in the long run, if you really want that there should be no opposition and you should win the hearts and minds of people, then it becomes questionable whether in the long term will it really, in the cost-benefit ratio, will it really help United States. I think the best logic would be to sort of have an arrangement whereby Pakistan shares the control of this, even if it does not actually possess these. But the acquisition of the targets must be shared, and at the same time, I think the operational side should also be shared. Then it would be a great advantage. I think that will really be extremely helpful.
Let me ask Peter Bergen, CNN's national security advisor here, so to speak, and also the co-author of a report with the New American Foundation. Peter, you're for these attacks. Why is that?
I wouldn't say necessarily for. I mean, I think in the study we did, I said that they're the least bad option that exists, because obviously the United States military can't invade the tribal areas of Pakistan where many of these militants are based. When U.S. Special Forces went over under Bush, there was tremendous pushback from the Pakistanis. And both the Bush administration and the Obama administration have really followed the same policy, which is to continue these drone attacks as really the only tool in the toolkit that really that's really possible. And you know, as General Massoud said, there is increasingly an alignment between Pakistani strategic interests and American strategic interests when it comes to the Pakistani Taliban. and a US drone strike killed by Ayatollah Masood. I was there in Pakistan when it happened, and Pakistani newspapers were basically pretty celebratory, having been previously somewhat critical.
Right, but you know, and everybody at this table knows, that there's the likelihood, and General Masood alluded to it, to a sort of a cycle of revenge and jihadism and willing recruits from the civilian casualties, which is the fallout. I mean, what is the potential negative down the road?
Well, there are quite a lot of negatives. I mean, only 9% of Pakistanis have a favorable view of these drone strikes. As General Masood said, there's a feeling of infringement on Pakistani sovereignty. The United States is disliked by most Pakistanis, et cetera, et cetera. On the other hand, Pakistani politicians who used to criticize these strikes quite openly are really saying very little, because the strikes are really, attacking the enemies of the Pakistani state, who, after all, have killed thousands of Pakistani civilians in the last 2 years. And these drone strikes, while they certainly kill civilians, have not killed anything like the number of the Pakistani Taliban, who are the subject of these strikes, have killed just in the last several months in Pakistan.
And yet they are killing lots of civilians, these drone attacks. Can I turn to you again, Vicky Duvall, on the whole legal aspect of this, or the ethical, moral aspect? Who chooses the targets? Why is there no public debate on this?
Well, we don't know who's choosing the targets, and we know that there's no public debate on this because it's a covert action operation. It's a clandestine operation approved, presumably it better be approved by the president, because the law requires that. So no, we're not going to know who the targets are. We're not going to know how those targets are selected. We probably will never know.
Isn't that in itself a slippery slope? I've read that they're giving a lot more sort of jurisdiction to the Pakistani government. And I mean, who knows? Are they militant leaders? Are they Al-Qaeda leaders? Are they people that the Pakistani government doesn't like?
Well, putting aside the role of the Pakistani government, or lack thereof, just in terms of what CIA does, historically they collect intelligence. They go around and steal secrets around the world. Historically, they haven't used those secrets to form hit lists. They haven't used them as means of targeting people for death. CIA has never been a killing machine.
But now it is.
According to these news reports, yes. I don't know that they are for sure.
So does the United States, does this say that the United States now has an official policy of targeted assassinations?
The word assassination is a difficult one and a tricky one. I think targeted killing is more accurate, because assassination brings back memories of world leaders being targeted, etc. I consider a targeted killing to be any time you